Aliyah Boston walked into a Thursday practice in Indianapolis, got handed one simple question about a teammate, and quietly lit the fuse on the biggest civil war the Indiana Fever have had all season. She said Kelsey Mitchell is, quote, really just the MVP. And she said it while the woman who owns the WNBA record for 20-point, 10-assist games in a single season is standing in that exact same locker room wearing number 22. Now stay with me, because the most brutal part of the story is not the quote. It's a sentence a different Fever player gave 2 days earlier. An answer so smooth it made Boston's version look like a car crash in slow motion. I'll get to her, I promise. But first, we need to talk about what Boston actually said, because the clip has been chewed to pieces online, and half the people screaming about it have not heard the full thing. Here's the full version, from August 13th, 2026, reported by James Boyd. Boston said Mitchell comes in and works every day, gets up extra shots, does exactly what she needs to do, and honestly, she's really just the MVP. She said every single night Mitchell drops, quote, I don't even know how many points at this rate, that she defends her butt off, and that she's really proud of her. And on the pure basketball level? Boston is not making it up. Mitchell had just scored 20 or more points in 17 straight games, which is a WNBA record, and 25 or more in 6 straight. She's second in the entire league in scoring at 24.3 a game. That is not a teammate blowing smoke. That is a teammate describing a genuinely historic scoring run that nobody saw coming from a player in year 9. So why did Fever fans lose their minds within 12 hours? Because of who was standing right next to that sentence. Caitlin Clark is averaging 21.7 points and 8.2 assists, third in the league in scoring, second in assists, and she just extended her own WNBA record for the most 20-point, 10-assist games in a single season to 9. 9. That record did not exist before her. And Indiana's offense is currently tracking to be the best offense in WNBA history. So when the starting center gets asked who the MVP is and picks one guard by name, the internet does not hear praise. It hears a ranking. If you're enjoying this one, do me a favor right now. Smash that like button and drop a comment telling me who the real Fever MVP is. And subscribe, because the next month of this season is going to be absolute chaos, and you do not want to miss it. Let's be honest about Mitchell for a second, because she does not deserve to be collateral damage in a narrative war she never asked to join. This is the 4th straight season her scoring has gone up, and this jump is the biggest one yet. More than 4 points a game higher than last season. She missed nothing, not a single game. While half of Indiana's roster spent last year in the training room, Mitchell was the one dragging that team to within a single game of the finals. Her whole explanation for the career year was, quote, try to keep the main thing the main thing. That's it. That's the entire press conference. Kelsey Mitchell might be the only person in this league who talks less than she scores, and honestly, in the summer of 2026, that's a superpower. But here's where Boston's answer gets shaky, and it has nothing to do with loyalty. Mitchell is the better raw scorer. She shoots it at a more efficient clip. Clark is the better playmaker by a distance, and it's not close. She has the ball in her hands more, she carries the higher usage, she creates the shots that Mitchell finishes. Some of those 17 straight 20-point games exist because a Clark pass arrived in Mitchell's shooting pocket before the defense could rotate. That's the uncomfortable math. You can absolutely argue Mitchell has been Indiana's best pure scorer this season. Arguing she's been Indiana's most valuable player requires you to pretend the assists just fall out of the sky. And in her last 10 games, Clark's been at 24.7 points and 9 assists a night anyway. But that wasn't the whole story, because we already know exactly what the right answer to that question sounds like. Sophie Cunningham got asked essentially the same thing, and she said Indiana has 3 players playing at an MVP level. 3. One sentence, nobody snubbed, everybody promoted, drama dead on arrival. That's the answer. That's the layup. The Fever front office should print it on a t-shirt. Not MVP, but MV3. You've got the record-setting playmaker, the record-setting scorer, and the all-star center who just made herself the story by accident. Sell the trio, sell out the building, let the voters fight about it in September. Instead, Indiana handed the internet a hierarchy. And the internet does what the internet always does with a hierarchy. It turned it into a war. And this is the part that makes the timing genuinely reckless, because it did not land in a calm week. It landed in the middle of the worst public relations stretch this franchise has had in years. Go back to August 8th in Chicago. DiJonai Carrington caught Sophie Cunningham high, a flagrant 2, ejected in the first quarter. Cunningham left bloodied at the mouth and sprawled on the floor. Clark picked up a technical foul in the same game that would have been her 8th of the season, which triggers an automatic 1-game suspension. The league reviewed it and rescinded it, which tells you everything about how justified that whistle was. Indiana still won, 90-86, with Mitchell at 27 and Clark at 26. And then the actual explosion happened at the podium, because Stephanie White got asked about the hit on her own player and said Carrington is going to play her butt off, that nobody's walking in for a layup, that she didn't oppose the hard foul, and that she didn't think Carrington intentionally went for the neck. Her own player. Bloodied. And it got worse in retrospect because Carrington went to social media, posted the phrase white privilege, and tagged the Indiana Fever. Analysts called White a snake in the grass on air, Stephen A. Smith went on television and questioned how she still has a job, pointing out that Fever fans in their own building were booing their own head coach during pregame introductions. Home team, home crowd, booing the coach. That is not normal, and it is not something that fades in a week. White's response was one of the most extraordinary things I've seen from a WNBA coach this year. She took no questions before the Liberty game. She just read a statement pounding the table, saying the hate, the fear-mongering, the divisiveness, the stuff trying to hijack the league will not win. She said they are united. They are connected. They will not be divided. She said every day these women put themselves on the line. That love, grace, humility, and kindness will win. That she stands by them and always will. And then she told everybody else exactly where they could go. 2 minutes of pure fire. And then her team went out and beat New York 106-92. The players closed ranks, and this is the bit the outrage machine keeps skipping. Sophie Cunningham publicly backed her coach, saying the locker room is tight, that they have each other's backs, that coach loves them, that she and Steph are great, and that it's the outside noise trying to distract them. Clark backed White too. Cunningham even said she doesn't hold a grudge against Carrington over the foul, which, given that she got clotheslined on national television, is a level of professionalism I personally do not possess. So that's the environment. A locker room that has spent a full week insisting there is no division, publicly, on camera, over and over. And then, 48 hours later, the starting center accidentally hands the internet a divided locker room headline for free. Now here's what almost nobody noticed, and it's the detail that makes this whole snub cycle feel systemic rather than accidental. When the league's own broadcast partner promoted Friday's Fever game against Dallas, the graphic billed it as Paige Buecher's and the Wings against Lexi Hull and the Fever. Not Clark, not Mitchell, not Boston. All three are 2026 All-Stars, and none of them made the poster. No disrespect to Lexi Hull, who plays her heart out every night. But if you're wondering why Fever fans are permanently on a hair trigger about respect and recognition, that's your answer right there in one promotional image. So what does Boston's quote actually cost? Here's my honest read. And it has nothing to do with Boston's intentions, because she clearly had none. It's about ballots. All-WNBA voting is coming, and Clark being on the first team should be a formality with the season she's having. But voters look for permission slips. Now every voter who wanted to leave her off has one. How can she be first team when her own teammate says she's not even the best player on her own roster? That single sentence becomes the quote in somebody's column, and Clark drops to a second team she has no business being on. That's the mechanism. Nobody announces a bias. They just find a convenient sentence and hide behind it. And Indiana just wrote it for them. Reality check on the actual MVP race, though, because both sides of this argument are fighting over a trophy that's probably already gone. A'ja Wilson has been the runaway favorite for most of the year, going for around 26 points, 9.5 rebounds, and 3 assists a night as the defending champion. Lynx rookie Olivia Miles jumped to second in the odds, while Minnesota built the best record in the league at 25-6, and she's doing it at nearly 20 a game with almost 6 assists. Clark opened the season as a co-favorite at plus 240 and has drifted since. Mitchell was barely on the board, so Boston and every fan screaming at each other are arguing over silver medals in a race Las Vegas is running away with. Which brings us to the ugliest theory floating around, and I want to address it head-on because it's everywhere in the comments. The idea that the Fever, the coach, and the teammates are quietly trying to dim Clark's shine. Do I believe it? No. I believe that Locker Room genuinely likes each other, and everything on camera this month supports that. But I'll say the thing nobody wants to say. If that theory were true, the only rational move would be to trade her tomorrow, because deliberately suppressing the most valuable draw in the history of women's basketball would be the single dumbest financial decision any franchise has ever made. It would be like owning a gold mine and advertising the gift shop. It makes no sense, which is exactly why it isn't happening. What it actually is a franchise that has not learned how to handle being famous. That's the whole story. The basketball is genuinely brilliant. 21-12, 7 wins in their last 9, 5th in the standings, the best offense in the league. Hosting Dallas on August 14th in a rematch of the season opener, they lost by 3. 107-104, with Mitchell dropping 30 that night. They have 6 more games in August against mostly playoff teams and a 2-week road trip looming, and Clark herself said it's going to show what they're made of. Seeding is on the line. Home court in the playoffs is on the line. And the story dominating the conversation is a compliment that came out wrong. So here's where I land, and I told you I'd come back to it. The Sophie Cunningham answer was the correct answer, and it should be the only answer anybody in that building gives for the rest of the season. 3 MVP-level players. Full stop. Because Boston praising Mitchell was kind, honest, and completely deserved, and it still cost her franchise player something she'll never get back on a ballot. That's the cruelty of this era of the WNBA. There is no such thing as an innocent sentence anymore. Every quote is evidence. Every compliment is a ranking. And the outside noise Cunningham keeps talking about doesn't need a scandal to feed on. It just needs a hierarchy. Tell me below, was Boston wrong or are Clark fans overreacting? Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.